Our final presenter has been with us before in the past, controlling weed pressure and herbicide drift. We're glad to have Dr. Wayne Keeling from Texas A&M AgriLife approach the lectern. Dr. Keeling, thank you for being with us.
Appreciate the opportunity. I chose today not to bring a PowerPoint presentation. I thought we'd just talk a little bit and maybe have some things to discuss here. But I think in continuing kind of the theme of this organization and the meeting today of conserving water or getting the most we can out of every drop, I think it's pretty obvious to everyone around here that controlling weeds is one of the most important things there. You certainly don't want to be losing water to the weeds. In a lot of areas, that's not necessarily the case. I've seen presentations at weed meetings where they're doing competition studies, say in Iowa, and they were looking at competition for light and space, and they never really considered the effects of moisture. They had enough water for the weeds in the crop too, so it wasn't that much big deal for them. It certainly is around here, and I think everyone recognizes that. I guess in traveling around the South Plains this year, various directions, certainly not every road or every county, but in general, to me it was very impressive in terms of the weed control jobs that producers have done. It was, if you think back 3 or 4 years ago when resistance really showed up, there were some ugly fields out there. It was a real struggle to try to keep things controlled. But I think really with the combination, I think it's old technologies and new technologies coming together to really do a good job. With the old technologies being residual herbicides, and a lot of those have been around for, 40 or 50 years, things like Treflan, Prowl, Caparol, Dual, and then the new technologies, XtendFlex and List, which gives much better effective post options since Roundup doesn't do the job anymore. It seems to me that most people have really done a good job utilizing these tools and really has some clean fields. You do notice some late season weeds coming where the water's been going, and a few late season pigweed poking up. And even that's somewhat concerned, I think, that somebody might say, well, I've spent a lot of money, worked hard all year, a few weeds out there, it's not going to interfere with harvest. The downside to that, I think, is letting weeds go to seed is going to increase problems for next year. So I think spending a little bit now trying to take that last flush out or prevent that last flush is still an important thing to do. And some of the work that's been done, that's really been Pete Gotre's area, they've looked at late season pigweed that may not get more than 6 inches tall, but they can still, if you've got a lot of them out there, you can still produce a lot of weed seed. Even those small plants, can produce a couple thousand seed each. And the cumulative effect of that is that you increasing your weed problems going into next year. So I think do the best job you can to the bitter end is still something to help in the future. Another interesting study that's been done, again, this is in kind of Pete's side of the business, is looking at, the question is, well, different weed seed, how long does it last in the soil? If it's grown this year, gets in the soil, how long is it going to be a problem? And a lot of weeds, things like bindweed, have been identified as lasting 20, 30, 40 years in the soil. They're almost immortal. What Pete study did is they buried pigweed seed about 6 inches deep and then dug some up each year, grew them out and see what the emergence was, or what the germination was. And it looked like after about 3 years, germination was down to 1% or less. So I think pigweed doesn't have just a real long life in the soil. But I think the problem is we're always adding to it. So even though they're dying off pretty fast, there's still plenty coming to take their place. But to me, that does give anyone some hope that if you can reduce that seed bank over time, maybe you can improve situations there. I know there's roadsides and neighbors maybe who don't do as good a job that we infest you all the time. But to me, that was encouraging that pigweed seed doesn't last 10 years in the soil. And I think if you think about some of the other weeds, one that we really had a problem with in the Lubbock area was landsleaf sage or midweed. It was a real problem, but when Roundup Ready came along, it pretty much disappeared. After 2 or 3 years, you just never saw them. To me, that tells me that those seeds didn't have much of a life in the soil. Once you put additives back, it pretty much disappeared as a weed problem there. But again, I think people have done a good job of using residuals with these new technologies, and hopefully there were some painful lessons learned in the Roundup Ready era where it got too easy to do nothing but spray Roundup. And that was cheap and effective, did the job, but it sure sped up the development of resistance. And I think one big difference there between, say, dicamba or 2,4-D and Roundup is they're not the herbicides that Roundup was. As you've seen, you can't let a lot of weeds get 2 feet tall and spray them and just melt them to the ground like you could with Roundup. They may twist them up and stop those weeds from growing, but they're not the standalone herbicides that Roundup was in its heyday. So I'm hoping that helps people keep using it as part of a system. And to me, this is kind of a philosophical standpoint. When you think about your weed control program, well, dicamba or 2,4-D doesn't need to be the heart of that. The heart needs to be residuals you use either pre-plant, pre-emerge, or in season. And then you've got the dicamba, 2,4-D, Liberty, your post-treatments, kind of work around the edges. What you didn't control otherwise, let those clean it up, almost like whole. If you got 99% of them, or 98 with residuals, let those post-treatments clean up the rest. And don't depend on those to be 70 or 80% of the program. So I think that's where we're going to be speeding up resistance, just putting too much pressure on those herbicides if they're having to control so many weeds from start to finish. And along those lines, with more no-till cover crop situations, you can use dicamba or 2,4-D as a burn down at planting and then in season. I would like to see people save those uses for in season. To me, you can do a really good job with a burn down with something like Remoxone paraquat. Save your dicamba, and it gets another mode of action in there, keeps that selection pressure off dicamba from start to finish. And to me, you can do just as good a job, save that dicamba or 2,4-D for the summertime. I think weed resistance has been a lot of the press, and I think out here till I think the first we saw resistant pigweed was about 2011. And my hope at that point was, they were already having problems in the South and Midwest, that, well, we're doing things right out here, and it's not going to be a problem for us. That was wrong. But really, Roundup and Palmer Amaranth, that's not the start nor the only resistance there is around. It's a widespread national, a worldwide problem across a lot of chemistry and a lot of different weeds. I think if you multiply a weed species times resistance to a certain herbicide, there's a little over 400 different instances of weed resistance across the country. Some of those are very obscure weeds and situations, but it's a very widespread thing, and certainly not just related just to glyphosate and just to Palmer Amaranth. In terms of Palmer Amaranth, I was always amused through the years, somewhat, going to weed meetings, and people across the country, they never heard of Palmer Amaranth. They had all these weeds that I never heard of, that they were worried about, that they had problems with. And then for the last 10 years, when Palmer Amaranth's been a problem south and Midwest, you think it's the end of the world coming. And I think people out here have dealt with that as their number one weed ever since started farming out here. So I wouldn't say I have no sympathy for them, but maybe less sympathy than they think we have for them. So they got lots of water too, so they should be pretty happy about that. Let's see what else we can talk about here. I think as there is more and more no-till type production, in residue or cover crops or whatever, you got to start thinking of weed control as a year-round proposition. I think in conventional till, from the time you harvest to the time you plant, you're doing enough tillage cultivation that things like mare's tail and a lot of winter weeds are never a problem. And you don't really realize they're there, but you're just controlling them so well when you're doing tillage operations. But if you're not doing any tillage, the weeds are coming. And I think the worst thing anybody could do would be wait until about April and think, well, I guess it's about time to start thinking about the weeds. I think then you've already missed too much time. You need to be out there February, considering, has it rained much in the last couple of months? We have weeds coming, because that's when things like horseweed are going to start growing, and they're sure a lot easier to control when they're in the rosette stage or an inch tall than when they're a foot tall. So staying ahead of the game on weeds, both from a burn down and getting some early residuals out, I think they're going to save a lot of problems as you move closer to planting time. And I might just describe what I've seen work very well in a no-till cotton system, be it planting an old residue or in a cover crop, is going out there about the first of late February, 1st of March. Doesn't take a real high rate, either 2,4-D or dicamba. Same with Valor. If it's not growing cover crop, put Roundup in there. That combination, clean up the weeds there, then you have a Valor to give you some residual moving closer to planting time. Obviously, if you have a cover crop, you can't put the Roundup in. But you get closer to planting, you kill the cover crop, and to me, planting is something like Remoxone plus Caparol or Direx or Cotorance, some kind of residual, to kick in as that Valor's planting out, let your next residual take into the growing season. Then you get to say May, or early part of June, and you've got some escapes, it's time for your post-treatment. They'll either the first post, or if things are then kind of dry and the pressure's not too great, maybe hold off and put a residual with your second post application. But if we've had normal May rainfall and you kind of sense the weeds are coming, something like dicamba, Roundup, Warrant, Dual, one of those type of materials is a very good residual to get out in. Chances are the Caparol you put at planting time is going to give you a month's control, plus or minus. So if you planted the 10th of May, by the 10th of June, that residual is about gone. So if you can lay another residual down then, continue on, you're kind of keeping that layered residuals out there from March to hopefully August to really keep the pressure of the pigweed from never coming up and not having to deal with it. And the resistance is, it's a numbers game and probability. If you have millions of weeds coming up, the chances of one of those being resistant to whatever post-treatment you're using and surviving is a lot higher than if you've got thousands coming up. So the less weeds that come up for the post to deal with, that greatly reduces the chance of resistance popping up in the short run. And again, you start adding all those things up. Man, that's spending a lot of dollars on herbicide, and I think it is. But if you're taking tillage out of the mix, there's no free lunches there. You're going to have to spend the money, on the herbicides, what you're saving otherwise. And we've done some kind of economic comparisons, even comparing back to conventional cotton. And you can save money on seed and chemical, but you're going to spend it on tillage and hoeing to make that up. So I think if we're using our chemicals wisely, a lot of these older materials are pretty reasonably priced. I wouldn't say they're cheap, but reasonably priced. You can get a lot of good out of that. In terms of, I guess one of the things on the title is drift management. And I think everyone's probably had the opportunity to go through auction training in the springtime if you're spraying either dicamba or the 2,4-D products. And I think there's a lot of good information there. It covers pretty much anything you would encounter. And I think that people will pay attention to that and implement those. And I think people are, for the most part, using the right formulations, having the boom at a low enough level, using the right kind of nozzles, watching the wind, all the other factors that come into play there. You can do a good job of spraying with minimal off-target movement, and that's what we've got to do. I mean, you hear about all the problems in Arkansas, Tennessee, and the Corn Belt with dicamba drift on beans, and what a national issue that is. And I think from the dicamba side, we've got a lot of acres planted out here, and from my perspective, very limited problems and a lot of good control. So to keep that technology alive, we've got to can't we have many problems coming out of this area to add to the ones that are appearing in those regions. So I guess on the dicamba side, which is 3 years in, it seems to be very successful in terms of weed control and off-target movement. I think it helps that a lot of acres are planted to that technology. If all your neighbors have dicamba cotton too, that gives you a pretty bigger margin for error than if you have non-dicamba scattered around there. Let's see, again, the training, that's going to be an annual deal unless something changes, so you'll be having the opportunity the winter of 2020 to sit through those exciting presentations again. To me, if it keeps the technology alive, that's a kind of a small price to pay. So hopefully it's some good refreshing material for everybody and help minimize the problems. Again, I want to leave some time just for some discussions or questions or experiences or something that maybe we all could gain something from that. So does anybody have any observations from this year related to weeds they'd like to share? Barry,
well, I had it for the last many years, usually in about February, I'll spray a glyphosate, Valor, dicamba, to work on the bear tail, and I usually get pretty good coverage, or good control, I need to say. This year, it seems like in the spring, when I got ready to play, I had mad. I just did not get that control. Just because, well, I mean, anything going on with Valor or anything?
Well, what weeds would you say there close to the planting time that you felt like you weren't getting good enough control on?
We had some bear tail, the coaster, golfer. Coaster,
Well, that's a little bit surprising because I think Valor has some pretty good residual activity on both kosher and Russian thistle. And I'm thinking back on that was a pretty dry period too, I think. So maybe y'all got a little more rain up there, but I think we were dry till maybe March, early April, something like that.
We were dry there for a long time.
I think maybe sometimes when you have those dry periods, you kind of get delayed emergence. Where if you're getting a little rain during February and March, you might be having things trying to come up and the herbicide working. If it's dry, you get kind of that late emergence. And it could have been kind of sneaking under the fence there as your herbicide was playing out. But I would hope that consistently you'll see better results than
That
that.
could still be a good thing.
I think so. That to me, that's an excellent thing to use in a no-till situation. If I was growing a grain crop there, I'd probably just substitute Valor would still work there. You can almost put its atrazine in there early too if you wanted a good residual product early on. That's I was talking a little bit about that. Milo Pro is disappearing from the market, and I think in grain crops, there's a lot of different corns, especially a lot of different herbicides, but kind of the common denominators are all kind of atrazine dependent, either from a pre or post standpoint. There's been nationally, there's been lots of attacks on atrazine, but for grain crops, I think it's essential that still remains on the market for pre or post. It just gives you such flexibility there, mixed with other products. Without that, it's going to be much tougher to control pigweed in grain crops. So let's hope that continues on. Yes, sir. I think for the most part, we got to make what we got work. I think those BASF technologies are looking at like 23 possibly as being introduction dates, so it's still a ways off. I think we got to make this work in the short run here, and it's not to say that even those are going to be magic solutions. So, but you feel like you are seeing some that just aren't as successful as they should be. Well, I think in that situation, to avoid that situation, you got to go with small weeds. I know that's easier said than done. I can say that, but I don't get out there and fight the wind and lots of acres and wind conditions. But anybody needs to err on the side of smaller weeds, the better. Because I think if there are some of these iffy situations, the smaller weeds are going to be more susceptible. So. Comes in. That's not encouraging there. I guess one thing on the Liberty side, I know some trials we did several years ago when Roundup still worked good. We were looking at putting Roundup and Liberty together to get some help from Liberty on morning glory. But what we saw was the opposite, took away from control. I think the situation now with Roundup's not killing many pigweed, the common, if you're going to use Liberty, I'd put Roundup with it. It seems like that just makes it work a lot better. And that may be something even with the dicamba, stick some Liberty with it when that comes to it. Looks like it's evaluation time. Well, P.Dr. and I are available anytime to answer questions, or as the year goes on, we'd be glad to share our experience and knowledge with you whenever we can.